Change doesn't always begin with a plan. Often it begins with a question, simple, honest, unexpected. A question asked by a child who isn't trying to start a movement, but simply trying to understand why the world feels the way it does. Today's story begins with that kind of question. A quiet thought from an 11-year-old girl that would ripple across classrooms, libraries, and conversations throughout the United States. This is the true story of Marley Dias, and how one small question reshaped the narratives children grow up reading. Marley lived in New Jersey, bright, thoughtful, imaginative. She loved books, loved disappearing into other worlds, and loved the feeling of seeing life through someone else's eyes. But slowly she began to notice something unsettling. In her school reading assignments, the narratives felt strangely similar. Adventure tales, coming-of-age journeys, classic literature. But nearly all of them centered the same kind of hero. A white boy or a white man again and again. Marley began to wonder, where are the girls like me? Where are the black girls with narratives worth telling? It started as a small discomfort, but one she couldn't ignore. And what she felt wasn't just personal frustration. It reflected a bigger, older problem in American education. School reading lists, many untouched for decades, mostly featured white authors and white protagonists. Meanwhile, research from the Cooperative Children's Book Center showed a stark reality. In 2015, fewer than 10% of children's books featured black main characters. And studies consistently showed that children read more deeply and feel more connected when they see themselves reflected on the page. But for black girls, finding a book with a protagonist who looked like them was rare enough to feel like luck. Marley sensed this imbalance long before most adults did. And instead of pushing the feeling down, she let it stay. She let it grow. Until it led her to the question that changed everything. If the narratives I need aren't here, how can I bring them here? One afternoon, Marley spoke to her mother. "Mom," she said, "I'm tired of reading about white boys and their dogs. Why can't I read books where girls like me are the main characters?" Her mother didn't brush it aside. She didn't laugh or say, "That's just how it is." Instead, she asked a single, empowering question. "So what do you want to do about it?" To Marley, that question felt like a door opening, a reminder that change isn't reserved for adults. It belongs to anyone who notices that something isn't right and decides to respond. In 2015, Marley set a bold goal for herself. She would collect 1,000 books featuring black girls as the main characters and donate them to schools and libraries that needed them most. She launched her mission online with a simple, striking hashtag. Hashtag 1,000 Black Girl Books. It was ambitious. Huge. Maybe even unrealistic. But Marley didn't hesitate. She explained her mission, shared her frustration, and invited anyone who cared to send her books that showed black girls not as side characters, but as heroes. At first, only a few responses came, a comment here, a message there. But soon, something incredible began to happen. People started sending books. Dozens at first, then hundreds, then thousands. Teachers shared her posts. Parents mailed packages. Kids drew pictures and wrote letters encouraging her to keep going. A national movement was taking shape, all because one girl asked a question adults had ignored. Marley's original goal was 1,000 books. But within months she collected more than 9,000. Her living room filled with boxes. Libraries reached out to partner with her. Schools asked for her help in rebuilding their reading lists. Children wrote to her saying, "I finally found a book with someone who looks like me." Marley donated the books across the country, bringing representation to communities that had never seen it before. A movement that began with one child's discomfort was now reshaping conversations about diversity in literature. Major news networks began paying attention. CBS Time, BBC, NBC. Everyone wanted to know, how did an 11-year-old start one of the most important conversations about representation in schools? Marley never complicated her message. She simply said, I wanted narratives where Black girls are the heroes. And I didn't want to wait, so I decided to make it happen. Her clarity struck people. Her honesty resonated. Her courage inspired children and adults alike. But the movement didn't end with media attention. Marley continued speaking out, advocating for diversity, equity, and visibility. She appeared on panels, met with educators, and encouraged schools to rethink the narratives they present to children. She even published her own book, Marley Dias Gets It Done, a guide for young changemakers filled with her experiences and practical advice. Later, she partnered with Netflix on a children's program that celebrated kindness, curiosity, and the voices of young people. In many ways, Marley became exactly what she once searched for: a protagonist, a leader, a reflection. Her journey is not only about books, it is about visibility, identity, and the quiet ways children understand the world around them. It asks us to consider whose experiences we center, whose voices we overlook, and what happens when a child realizes she has been asked to disappear into narratives that never included her. But Marley's journey also offers something hopeful. You don't need power to make change. You don't need money, connections, or permission. Sometimes you just need a question you're brave enough to follow. Marley Dias was only 11 when she decided she deserved to see herself in the narratives she read. She didn't wait for someone older. She didn't wait for the perfect moment. She didn't wait for the world to change first. She changed the world by changing the narratives that shape it. And maybe, just maybe, our own journeys begin with a question too.